As you can see, the subject of today's training is negotiation skills. This is actually obviously for agents while doing transaction. So we are just going to go through the art of negotiations when buying and selling property for your clients. So what all you should do and take care. So many real estate agents and clients think that negotiation is as simply how they price their listing or their offer to buy. Maybe they include the concept of a counter offer in their bag of negotiation tools. But the truth is that proper negotiation is much more than simply the price of a home or an honest deposit used in the offer. So we have discussed common opportunities and mistakes that we see in real estate transaction in this presentation. So our goal is to get you thinking about how many different ways there are to improve the outcome of your transaction. So once you put this foremost in your mind, you will begin to identify other opportunity unique to that particular transaction. Now what this slide says, negotiation is really an art in real estate. So never take an adversarial or even aggressive posture in any of your interactions with real estate agents, buyers or sellers. Actually just the opposite, you must be easy to get along with and easy to talk to. You should not be difficult to talk. But never forget that you are there for one reason, that is to solve your real estate need, whether you are buying or selling for yourself or for your client. So this means that while you are negotiating the deal, every piece of information that you provide to the other side should be carefully released at just the right time, spoken in just the right way, and must be designed to improve your position in the transaction. So experience has shown that the art of negotiation is not just a simple isolated exchange of information from one person to another, but rather a continuing effort. You must remember every action that you take during the entire transaction, beginning with submitting of offer to close of the transaction. You must have seen many real estate transactions where the buyer or seller got past the offer and acceptance phase and then acted like the deal was done. So don't give up your position too early. Do not make unnecessary concessions and do not compromise without gain. Another is structure the offer for acceptance. You should structure your offer such like that it is accepted without much fuss and fuss. So a good buyer's agent will coach their clients about the best ways to position themselves and their offer to increase the likelihood of seller's acceptance. So the offer should be written or proposed in a manner that it gets more likelihood of acceptance by seller. This is true even in the strong buyer's market, because if you want to pay the lowest price for a piece of property, you then have to be sure that all the other components to your offer other than price are as attractive as possible. The home viewing is a frequent negotiation tool. We just go and check the home whether it is proper or not, something like that. So negotiation is just as critical as on the seller side of transaction. For example, many buyer agents here in Ahmedabad will advise their client to demand hefty price reduction from the seller for relatively minor repairs that are discovered during the home showing. Suppose we take buyer to see the home, and then the buyer says, I want this things to be changed, this window is not proper, this glass is broken, this color is not proper, there are things that needs repairs. So most buyers believe that if the cost of the repair is 10,000 rupees, they should get a 20 to 40,000 reduction in the asking price. So to some extent this is justifiable because you often do not know the exact cost until the repair is done. And furthermore, if the buyer has to coordinate the repair, they should be reimbursed for their time and effort. But however, there are agents that actually advise buyer to go ahead and make an offer close to the full list price on the home, knowing very well that there will be something on the showing report they can use to get reduction. When these items are discovered, the buyer then demands unreasonable price reduction to the point that the seller would never have entered the deal. They know the price the buyer really wanted to pay. So the buyer is effectively negotiating the price of the home after the fact. So the seller's agent must take care of all these things. So by the time some sellers get into this point in the transaction, all they want is for the home to close the deal. They are tired of this process and often willing to reduce the price just to keep things moving along. A good listing agent should advise that the seller get a home checked before they even list the property, and they fix the item discovered in the inspection done by them. So this approach completely removes the home showing as a bargaining tool from the buyer's side of the transaction. So even if you do not want to invest the money to repair the items, you can still give the list of needed repair to a potential buyer before they offer, stating that their efforts need to be reflect acceptance of these items. So then you know the price reduction they expect before you get into the lengthy process. So it's a seller's onus that they get everything right before buyer says, okay, we need to change the price because of all these things. Also, use personal communication as a tool when buying a home. See, as a buyer's home, you will always request that the listing agent allow you to present the offer directly to the seller. There are agents who will refuse to allow this, but it never hurts to ask. At the most, they will say no. So generally speaking, there are a lot of real estate agents out there who have poor to zero negotiating skills. While it might not have crossed the listing agent's mind to ask their client, I really do want to understand exactly what is most important to the seller. More often than not, at this point in the game, pricing is not the number one most important item. But even if pricing is number one, what other things are on the list of importance? You have to find out what is the item number 2 or what is the item number 3. So you want to know what these needs are so you can help your buyer client restructure their offer to answer these needs if the initial offer is rejected. Believe me, you must have seen the craziest item hold high importance to people, and you often do not know what they are until you ask. What did you say? The back door on the garage has high sentimental value to you? Something like that. So, direct person-to-person communication is the key to the negotiation tool. Do not insult the other side of your transaction. While telling this is perhaps the first place many negotiations fail. There is an art to creating an offer to buy a home at the best price. Most people understand that if you walk up a person selling their home and say to them, I think you are stupid and I want to buy your home, so here is my offer. Will this work? The chances the seller will actually look at your offer is pretty low. This is because you have put the seller into a compromise position. You have forced the seller's sense of pride to overrule their desire to sell the home. So once you have put the seller in this position, it is difficult to correct it. Saying something like, sorry, I called you stupid. Here is an extra 10,000 to make up for that. Probably is not going to fix things. Maybe offering 70,000 to make them feel better would work. But then stupid is as stupid does. So you must have seen very few buyers able to correct the mistakes of insulting the seller, because pride is really a big deal. This example that I think you are stupid and I want to buy your home, so here is my offer, may be replaced by so many other things you must have come across your deals. What I want to say that pride is a really big deal for a customer. So most people understand the obvious concept, but people often do not realize how many different ways that you can put either a seller or buyer into this defensive position. I have seen buyers take the approach of including a defect list in this offer, which highlights every undesirable feature in the property when they upload an iConnect or something like that. They do this sometimes to support a low offer. Either way, this is the same thing as saying your house sucks and here is why. So the seller is insulted and either discard the offer or counter at a higher price than they might have if they were not insulted. So it is a counterproductive negotiation technique. Sometimes crazy lowball offers do not work, because a crazy lowball offer is another common way to insult the seller. If you really do not care whether you buy the property because you are just bottom fishing anyway, then perhaps this works for you. However, the most buyers in our area who are serious about finding a home that truly meets their needs, this is a mistake. Buyers spend a lot of time searching for the right home, right? Sometimes once they find a great home and start writing an offer, their priority suddenly changes from finding the perfect home to win the negotiation and get the house below fair value. So very rarely do you find below market value and perfect home in the same transaction. So this whole concept defies logic. How many times you have shopped for a product and been willing to pay a premium for a particular product because it has all the features you highly desire? Has it happened ever to you for any other product you wanted? No. So we all do this almost every day. So now, how many times have you found yourself thinking, I really like this product better than the others, therefore I should be able to pay less for it? Most of the time, right? So the point is that just attempting this tactic often kills the deal and the buyer usually ends up at square one again. So is that your goal in shopping for a home? So spend your time at square one. So stay focused on your true goals and negotiate accordingly. And this says negotiate with data and not opinion. So we are not suggesting that price negotiation should not occur. If you see this title, it doesn't mean that we are suggesting that price negotiation should not occur. Of course they should. The challenge is to identify a very good price that is justified by market comparable. But yet the offer is submitted in such a fashion that it does not insult the seller. The use of market data to prepare and then support your offer is by far the most effective tool in the price negotiation. We have always seen this. The showing the seller market data is way more persuasive than simply saying, I just feel like you are overpriced. So you need some ways to prove that, to support that. So another reason market data helps is because many real estate agents barely know how to perform a competent market analysis, what we call CMA. So they don't really know what a property is worth. So if the buyer agent produces data that supports their client's offer, many times the seller's agent will be swayed by the data and will recommend that their seller client accept the offer. So as you had given the proper data, the seller agent was also convinced that this offer should be accepted. The mirror image of this, seller price is high to allow room to negotiate, has the same effect on insulting the buyer and forcing a lost negotiation. So a good listing agent will help the seller create a package that shows the value of the home using market data, and again this is way more persuasive than opinion. As we all know, timing is always part of good negotiation. You should know at what time you should struck the chord, and you should offer a right price at what right time. So another consideration on helping the buyer create an offer is how soon will the listing expire. See, mostly we get a listing for 90 days or 120 days or so. So most listing ends in 90 days, and at the end of the time the seller has a choice of relisting with the current agent or choosing a completely different agent. And changing agent is not uncommon. So human nature tells us that the closer we are to the expiration of the listing contract, the more likely the listing agent is to give the offer a positive recommendation. So sellers also view this as a sort of deadline because it is a milestone in the progress of selling their home, and often they are also more willing to negotiate as the end of listing nears. So getting a new agent or even extending the current listing feels like a failure. So timing is always a part of a good negotiation. Next. Always create a counter offer. So we mentioned earlier that sometimes a seller will get offended by a lowball offer and refuse to make a counter offer. Because for a seller it is almost always worth a shot to counter back to a buyer with a reasonable price, even if they submitted a low offer. And as a listing agent, you should counsel your client very early that sellers who can disengage their emotions about a home and view the sale as a business transaction tend to do better than sellers making emotional decisions during the sale. So we are not saying this is easy, but a good agent can really help by talking you through this process and making it easier. So some real estate listing agent will not spend the time required to type up a counter offer unless the original offer is in the ballpark. So therefore they might counsel their seller client to wait for another more legitimate offer, and honestly it really doesn't take that much time to make a counter offer, and you can make the duration of the offer a single day if you like. Unexpected things happen to people every day here in area where you are dealing, and even if an offer does not appear to be serious, you never know until you ask. There can be incentive that can be offered by sellers also. So there are many different kind of incentives that a seller can offer or a buyer can request in the transaction, and they are all part of negotiation. Maybe reduce the price, help with down payment, help with closing cost, offer a loan agent to get a loan. So the list is long. The agent is, if the agent is creative, and often finding some little thing you can request or offer can make a deal work. So be sure to spend the time working on this possibility and putting them in your arsenal of negotiation tactics. So thank you very much. Keeping in mind by some agents we have kept this short, and we would like to have your feedback on such training and more training required. please send us your email at gujarat@remax.in, and we would definitely work on it and design a more fruitful training for you. This was a request from some agents. If we need to learn something about the art of negotiation when buying and selling, so we have designed this session today. So thank you very much for your participation. Thank you. Thank you, Jabir, Nisha, Piyushi, Ashish. Bye.